Hey everybody, it's Paul Giroux, paulfgiroux.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what's in this box, and that's the a7S III that just arrived today. This is a camera that I have been waiting for a long time. When it was announced in July, I was so excited for this camera because of the promise that it has for video as well as high quality stills, but mostly it's a video camera. But I'm going to be doing some testing that's going to see what it's like as a still camera at very high ISOs. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So why did I wait so long for this camera, and what really made me want to get this camera? Well, when the a7S II came out, probably in 2015, it had a very high ISO capability, 4K video, and it was also a very small form factor. It used the W battery. This one uses the Z battery. This one has a swing out articulating screen. That one did not. It was just the kind of the standard Sony kind of pull up and fold out kind of screen. So that was an improvement that I really wanted to have. But the main thing I wanted and missed with the a7S II was the fact that that S2 was a contrast-based autofocus camera. So that means it had to hunt for focus. Once it found it, it was very accurate, very secure, but it was not what I was used to with tracking autofocus, and especially now with what we have with the a9 II and the a7R IV and the a6600, and all these more current contemporary cameras. Speaking of those cameras, this camera, like them, has a unlimited video recording option, which is great, especially if you do events like live events and also want to record it to a video, a card, I should say, an SD card. But it's also a camera that has eye autofocus in video, and that is a big deal. And I think it's going to have a big impact on the movie business, because I think it may very well change, I don't know, but it may change that industry or parts of that industry, much like the autofocus did back in the late 80s when Canon came out with the EOS cameras, and then autofocus forever became part of our deal. So here's the a7R III in a box. I'm going to do a quick unboxing, then open it up, show it. It's the first time I've ever seen one, so it's all going to be new. And then we'll just go from there. And bear with me. I realize I don't have a battery for this camera that's going to be charged, but maybe that one that's in the box will work. But if not, I'm going to get up real quick and get one. And then the other thing is I'm going to hook the camera up so that we can look through the menus to see where it's different. I don't know them very well intimately yet. Obviously, this is my first introduction to the camera. But if you watch some great YouTube videos that I've been watching since that camera was released, Gerald Undun's is particularly good as a technical camera guide. And then there's Max Yuryev's, which is great. Hugh Brownstone's is terrific. Dan O'Neill did a very good review as well. There's a lot of great reviews out there about this camera and how to set it up. Matt Johnson's got some amazing videos about this camera particularly, and it's how it's really changed his business as a wedding videographer. So let's go and open this up first and see what it looks like. And just going to switch cameras to the overhead. So I was hoping to get this camera when it was first delivered on the 23rd of September, and it just didn't quite work out. There was a little bit of a snafu that got fixed, and then B&H was on holiday, which is where I got this camera. So it's a little bit slow to arrive, but I'm sure glad it's here. So this is what's in the box. This is a cable holder. This is looks like a USB-C to USB-A. Paperwork, warranty work, things like that, instructions. Let me go in here. Strap. I used the Peak Designs, which I like a lot. Here's the camera. Okay, so it's very similar in size and form factor to my a9 II, which is what I'm using to record. It does come with a charger, which is handy. power cord for it. Sorry if this is noisy. Sorry about that. Let me just get a Z battery real quick. I'll be right back. One of the nice things about the newer series, since the A9 is it's the W battery, or I'm sorry, the Z battery, which replaced the W. So here's our camera, and go back. Oops. There is it's a little hard to see it, but there's a dot to start it in the C1, which was in the C1 position. Oh, and here's how this flies out. Oh, that's nice. Okay. It's an Arca plate. Just putting it on there. Forget about it for now. Let's hook up. This may or may not work. We'll see. Well, let me just come back. I thought I had a full-size HDMI port on here. And I do. There it is. Yes. This is what the video world has waited for. A full-size HDMI connection on the camera. Okay. All right. So that is your basic menu options. So you notice how different it is if you're a Sony shooter. There's quite a difference. Movie settings, 60p, 3024. This is going to take some getting used to, but I'm really looking forward to it because I think it's going to make life a lot easier. This is what a lot of Sony photographers, such as myself, have been hoping for the past few years, is that Sony would make their menu system a little bit more intuitive, and I think what they've done is really an improvement. I hope this comes forward to everything. The My Menu is right at the top of the menu itself, which is really easy instead of being at the back like it was before. So I use My Menu settings for a lot of things that are maybe not something that requires a dedicated custom button, but it's something that I would use quite a bit. So I put formatting and date time in that menu setting. There's image quality, there's movie file formats, movie settings, media format, there's the media, file settings. You can rename them, shooting mode. This is one of the other things that I want to test with this camera is how well it performs as a silent shooter for stills, because the A9 II is unquestionably the best for shooting silently without any kind of rolling shutter artifacts. If you can shoot sports at 24 or 20 frames a second with that camera, then you know you're going to be fine. And I want to be able to use the a7S III in that same capacity. In a lot of cases with a7R4 and what other camera, but mostly the a7R4, the a7R III, I would not use silent unless I absolutely had to, because you could create some kind of rolling shutter artifacts and effects when you looked at the photos with that camera, just because the processor was not nearly fast enough like the A9 and now the A9 II. So it'll be interesting to see how this one works, not only for reducing rolling shutter in video, but also when you're doing stills and panning and staying in silent shooting. This is a big deal for event photographers at weddings. This is a big deal for people who shoot production stills, who want to get behind the scenes without making any noise. This will totally, hopefully, eliminate any need for any more blimps, and that's a good thing. If you've done any production stills, you'll know what I'm talking about. So let's see what else we've got on this. Audio settings. It's got all of the basic settings that the other cameras have had before, but just in a more colorful and a more, I think it's just a more intuitive and a more logical way of grouping all of these items. Playback. Okay. So that's what it's basically looking like in terms of the interface. Let's see what the functions look like. Display. There's your, it looks just like your typical A9 II. There's your channels for your audio. Okay. The feel is great. It's solid, much like the A9 II in terms of shape. The difference is there's no dial on the upper left side. There's no dial here on this side like you have on the A9 II, which controls your speed of your motor drive in mechanical ways. This is now all controlled here. They have changed the top dial. The configuration is a little bit different than previous cameras, which hopefully it will be easier to go from manual mode to movie mode. In the past, it was manual, and then 1, 2, and 3 were right next to it, and then movie was on the other side of that. So they have changed the order, which theoretically should make it a little bit easier. But I've had great luck when I've shot with the A9 II and the A7R4 by using manual for all my still shooting, and then 1, 2, and 3 were all my movie modes. So I would go to number 1 was 24p, number 2 was 60p, and number 3 was 120p. Super slow motion, and those would be put on a 24p timeline. So this is going to be a little bit of a learning curve. I think it'll be fine, but I'm just really nice. It's nice to hear that Sony listened to what a lot of photographers were saying was a problem, to go from stills to movie mode. So now it's just literally one jump. So that's another example of how Sony listens to people, which is great. So that's what came today, the a7S III. This is the camera that I've been waiting for, because it, to me, is the true hybrid photographer's camera. I've got to be able to see how now it goes from stills and how quickly it clears the buffer to go to video, stills to video, and vice versa. I'm really excited to see that, because I've wanted a camera that has this form factor, that has this bit rate and codec with the images, but also has really high quality stills. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's only 12 megapixels. Can I make big photos with that? And the answer is, if you've got a good file, if you're sharp, yes, you can. And one thing that you can do is, when you resize in Photoshop, if you go up in increments of 10%, you can get that photo to be almost as big as you want. I have a photo over on the side of the wall over there that is a 40 by 60 made with a Canon 5D from 2005 or 6 and the 70 to 200 2.8 version 1. So not even their sharpest lens. I've got a 40 by 60 that looks absolutely tack sharp. It looks amazing. And, oops, sorry, a little craziness going on upstairs. And I don't have any problems thinking that this camera will not only handle that and more, I think it might actually do better because of the eye autofocus and the high quality of the lenses. It's the G Master lenses, the G series lenses, even the regular Sony lenses are absolutely amazing. So that is not a concern for me. In fact, this fall, before this camera came in, I did a series of portraits of the football team that was turned into 2 feet by 5 foot banners made with an A9 Mark II, which is 24 megapixels, and they look superb. So I know a lot of folks are thinking that that's just too small for still photographers, but it may not be. So just hold that just hold that and just let it maybe be something that you're going to want to test for yourself. And like anything, this is just my opinion. I really think that these cameras are the best that are out there in the market, but don't take my word for it. If you're interested in trying these cameras, reach out and try renting one from Lens Rentals and just see what they do, and I think you're going to be great. So thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you later, and I can't wait to put this camera through the paces. See you later. Bye-bye.